graves in 1820. So Kumasi was the heart of diplomacy in the territory referred to as Asante and the broader enclaves that it covered. So that is just one example which suffices it right. That these diplomatic missions had one goal: to negotiate for peace, to ensure that there was sometimes an uneasy truce between themselves and their neighbors, including the British. So 19th century diplomacy in Kumasi took a rather different form, nature, and approach over a period of time. It was associated with the changing political scene, especially with the growing influence of Europeans at the coast. So diplomacy, which is effectively known in a modern sense, which requires that you have a representation in a territory negotiating for peace among other social, economic, and political dynamics, subsisted within Asante. In fact, from about the 1760s onwards, Kumasi had brought, conquest, and received rent from Christiansborg Castle from the Dutch. But beyond this period, we see that the space between the 1800s, there was negotiations, and also there were ideas of war and diplomacy which subsisted. And some of these, reports have been, perfectly written and documented by the good professor of erudition, McCaskey. Now, the peaceful relations between Asante and the British in the first 2 decades of the century took a different turn. What happened? Why did it take a different turn? Why would Kumasi go to war? We know about Asante interest in Dutch holding at Emina. We also understand that the interest of the British was to ensure that Asante's control or influence, or better still hegemony, at the coastal regions will be dealt with once and for all. The question is interesting. Why 1874? Why post-1874? And why did the British not annex Asante in 1874? Now, if you look at the account of Ward and Kimberley and the others who have written extensively on that, including Professor McCaskey himself, whom I referred to, it's critical to note that it was an expeditious mission. The team with Wesley arrived in the territory referred to as a colony by January, the end of January. Came as far as to Asante by the 31st of January. By the 6th of January, mission accomplished. They returned through Fomena, where I come from, signed. The treaty was not signed. It was a treaty he would even leave because he would not sign. The story that I found therein has already been shared by Professor McCaskey. Now, you understand that it was an expeditious mission. They returned hurriedly, and it did not suggest to us that they were there to stay. Secondly, the terms of the agreement itself, or the truce itself, or the treaty itself, also suggest a very interesting thing, because it did not tell us that the British wanted to have an emissary or a resident commissioner in Kumasi, and for that matter, Asante. Now, this notwithstanding, you see a disputation, especially when the Dubuan writes in a later period and argues that the British were interested in supporting Asante. That is why he argues that they will support Adansi breakaway, they will support the Gabon country, and all the other countries that were emerging within the state. In fact, if you shift towards Kimball's argument, there is a suggestion that the British had a certain vacillatory approach. They will not get into Kumasi and make any intervention, but they will not also come to fight Asante, even if Asante was plundering itself. In many respects, it is this civil war which persisted in Asante, plus the challenging leadership of Kakari, among other things, that will lead to the depletion of Asante's resources. Two, you would also find that with the depletion of the resources of Asante, the Asante constitution, which they were held together, the social contract, which by Asante constitution allowed the a subtle coercion to get members of the state to go to war had waned. Leadership challenge with Kakari, the one who followed after him, and also an internecine war, a civil war, which had eaten into the treasury of Asante. In many respects, some have argued that is what will cause Prempeh the First to capitulate. In many respects, I agree in tutu with my professor with great erudition that through the tact of diplomacy, Prempeh the First would have to save his people from war, because post-1874 and another war just at 1896 would have been too damning and too dangerous for the health and the power of Asante, especially holding it from Kumasi. I will try to just wrap up. I have 1 minute. So, what is my last take on this movement? You would appreciate that by 1900, the British had come to town again. They were successful at that because the rallying call for people to come to fight did not have that kind of zest. And that is written by McCaskey. Asante will regroup, but we see that even when Asante had been defeated, by 1905, Resident Commissioner Fuller had taken over to behave as if he was an Asante Hene. And even when we read Asante Hene had returned, he made him Kumasi Hene, a creation by the British. The intrigues by the outsiders is what Asante has sought to cure and has found a balancing act to sustain the union till now. I rest my case. Thank you.
His Royal Majesty, Paul Asante II, and Honorable Keynote Speaker Professor Thomas McCaskey, Honorable Ministers, Clergy, Professor Emmanuel Achampong, esteemed and distinguished scholar of Asante history, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great reverence and gratitude that we gather here today to commemorate the indomitable spirit and unwavering dedication of the people of Asante, who played a pivotal role during the British and Asante War of 1874, popularly referred to as the Sagrenti War. As we delve into the annals of history, we also uncover stories of courage, of compassion, and sacrifice that resonate with the Asante nation. My role in this symposium is to discuss the missionary factor in the Sagrenti War. Many scholars such as Eduwaini, Tom McCaskey, Emmanuel Champon, Samuel Obi, Archbishop Sapon, Rastri, our weeks, and many more have handled this very subject with some level of excellence. I stand on their works to discuss the interests of the Basel missionaries in the war. In the words of Njoko, the colonial enterprise and the Christian missionary enterprise together constitute two of the most important historical events that have, for good or bad, considerably shaped the history of Africa, including Ghana. Both defining events occurred almost simultaneously. The colonial enterprise focused on the economic and political dimensions of life in Africa, redrawing the boundaries, reshaping its political arrangements and structure, and considerably looking at different orientations and vital institutions. The missionary enterprise impacted heavily on the religious and cultural landscape of Africa and considerably tinkered with its dominant worldview and value system. A critical revisiting of these two major events either separately or as twin events, is crucial and indeed unavoidable for our understanding of the British Ashanti War of 1874, popularly referred to as the Sagrenti War. Ashanti and Britain fought several wars. Those battles were called several names, such as the Battle of Sagrenti in 1824, Akatamanso in 1826, Sagrenti in 1874, and the Asante War of 1900 and 1901. Prior to the Sagrenti War, Asante had established itself as a powerful political entity with a strong religious and cultural infrastructure. In spite of its greatness, it still fought more wars. The frequency with which Ashanti battled with her neighbors, including Denjira, Fanti, Bono, Ebe, Gan, Gonja, Tagomba, and many more, will have drawn attention to itself by several observers, especially the British and some missionaries. British administrators seem to have arrived at the conclusion that Asante indeed was a threat to their colonial project. Historians have indicated that some of the wars that were fought between Britain and Asante were in relation to the breach of peace and agreement, and that of 1874 was not an exception. It was born out of the desire to ensure that Asante obeys the peace agreement that it had signed in 1863, not to fight the Southern states, and also to end enslavement of people. Achampong, Abba Wilkes, Tudor, Lewin, and several others have indicated that the Asante British War of 1874 had a kind of crushing military defeat on Asante. Asante got demoralized, and of course the foundation of its very stay was shaken. Indeed, the awesome military technology of the British that was deployed was referred to more or less as a total war. Total war because it characterized the sound that was actually coming from the weapons and rifles that were handled by the British. But the question is that if the Sagrenti War was a matter between Britain and British forces and Asante, what triggered the interest of pastoral missionaries in the war? A people that were supposed to spread the gospel. To answer this question, we recast our minds to events in early 1868 and again in 1869, when the kingdom of Anglo and Akwamu around the lower Volta declared war on the Ebe of Krepi. In the ensuing war, Asante soldiers sacked Krepi towns, including Sokode, Enum, Ho, and took along with them missionaries, including Ramsey and his people, Johannes, Kuhn, Smith, Richard, and Pam, Ramsey's maid. We might begin to wonder why an internal war could lead to the capture of missionaries. One needs to understand actions and events of this nature from the complex relationship that had developed between society.
So this ties in with what Officer McCaskey said earlier, that when he was enthroned, he misused state resources. In this instance, it can be said that she sought to project her self-interest above in the choice of rulers, because for the second time she put her own son on the throne. To secure the election of her younger son, Mensa Bonsu, as the next Asante, Nana Efiakobi forged alliances with powerful chiefs, including Bantamahine Nana Wua II and Kokofuhine Nana Yaobeko. Nevertheless, her own daughter, Yechan, overthrew and exiled her together with her son, Kakari, in 1884. Efiakobi is remembered for her dedication to maintaining the ascension of her lineage in Asante. I move on then to look at Yechan. Yechan became the greatest rival of Efiakobi as she ousted her own mother in 1884. She was known to be a ruthless ruler. She secured the arrest of Kakari in 1884 War and ordered his execution. Over 200 Kakaris kindreds were also annihilated in the process, though eventually he was spared. Unfortunately, Kwaku Dua II reigned for only 44 days. After his death, Yechan fought for the stool for her son, Prempeh I. Supporters of her opponents, that is, Atrebuana, such as Butuakwa, Ochiame, Jobin, and Samahine Echampongpenny were all executed in the process. This led to a prolonged war of 4 years. Within the period, she assumed the role as a rival ruler of Asante and took possession of the golden stool so that no opponent could be enthroned. In Asante norms and value systems, the accumulation of wealth played a key role in power struggle. Yechan was a wealthy trader who used her money to finance the ambitions of her children. As a known wealthy woman, Yechan deployed her resources liberally. It was known that she bought loyalty using land. She also acquired a large supply of Snider rifles and ammunition to aid her self-ambition. As a result, she was given the title Oba Adarima. Yechan remained resolutely opposed to British diplomatic missions, including Griffin, Hodgson, and Maxwell. This explains why she was targeted for exile together with Prempeh I and other prominent chiefs in 1896. She died in Seychelles on 2nd September 1917 at the age of 77. I move on to the last heroine in terms of Asante history, that is Asante War. Asante War was a formidable-looking woman who had the slogan, "Men are not pillows for any woman to lean against." Asante War played a pivotal role in galvanizing the Asante into action by challenging male impotency in a time of national crisis. Echampo and Obey emphasized that her devotion to the golden stool, determination and courage contributed to making the war against the British. When her grandson, Nana Kwesi Afrani Dejesohene, was exiled, together with Prempeh I, by the British, she openly challenged the demands made by Sir Frederick Hodgson for the golden stool. Her devotion for the golden stool and determination contributed to the siege and guerrilla war from April to November 1900. This contributed to her famous statement, "How can a proud and brave people like the Asante sit back and look whilst the white men took away the king and the chiefs and humiliated them with a demand for the golden stool? The golden stool only means money to the white man. They have searched and dug everywhere for it. I shall not pay one prejan to the governor. If you, the chiefs of Asante, are going to behave like cowards and not fight, you should exchange your loincloths for my undergarments." For the sake of time, I'll move on to my conclusion. Within the broader framework of gender and power relations in Asante, women are highly recognized for their roles played in the continuity of their lineages. Because of the matrilineal structure of the Asante people, which centers on the idea that a woman passes her blood to her offspring, this bestows on women recognized political rights. Several queen mothers did not limit their responsibilities to women and domestic affairs, but played crucial roles to enhance national sovereignty. These queen mothers defied gender stereotyping to shape Asante social and political institutions and prove the capability of women despite the religio-cultural ascribed biological limitations as compared to men. In conclusion, while women served limited roles in Asante army due to customary disqualifications and the fear of menstrual taboos, Upon reaching menopause, they assumed war politics together with men. As we celebrate the 150 years since the Sagrenti War occurred, it is important that we remember heroines of history, including Efia Kobi, Ya Echa, and Ya Asante. I guess I will lastly play the devil's advocate here in probing the unsung stories of women. I wonder what the story would have been if these women had told their own stories. Had Ya Asante or Ya Echa been lettered or Western schooled, and had they similar avenues as Nana Ajman Krempe I while in exile, what stories would they have written about women in war? This leaves much to be desired. And I'll end by saying that as women, he bestows on us to go ahead and write our own history. Ties in with what Professor Makaski said earlier, that when he was enthroned, he misused state resources. In this instance, it can be said that she sought to project her self-interest above in the choice of rulers, because for the second time she put her own son on the throne. To secure the election of her younger son, Mensa Bonsu, as the next Asante, Nana Efia Kobi forged alliances with powerful chiefs, including Bantamahine Nana Wua II and Kokofuhine Nana Yaobeko. Nevertheless, her own daughter, Yecha, overthrew and exiled her together with her son, Kakari, in 1884. Efia Kobi is remembered for her dedication to maintaining the ascension of her lineage in Asante. I move on then to look at Yechan. Yechan became the greatest rival of Efia Kobi as she ousted her own mother in 1884. She was known to be a ruthless ruler. She secured the arrest of Kakari in 1884 and ordered his execution. Over 200 Kakari's kindreds were also annihilated in the process, though eventually he was spared. Unfortunately, Kwekudria II reigned for only 44 days. After his death, Yechan fought for the stool for her son, Prempe I. Supporters of her opponents, that is, Atrebuana, such as Butuakwa, Ochiame, Jobin, and Samahine Echampon were all executed in the process. This led to a prolonged war of 4 years. Within the period, she assumed the role as a rival ruler of Asante and took possession of the golden stool so that no opponent could be enthroned. In Asante norms and value systems, the accumulation of wealth played a key role in power struggle. Yechan was a wealthy trader who used her money to finance the ambitions of her children. As a known wealthy woman, Yechan deployed her resources liberally. It was known that she bought loyalty using land. She also acquired a large supply of Snider rifles and ammunition to aid her self-ambition. As a result, she was given the title Oba Berima. Yechan remained resolutely opposed to British diplomatic missions, including Griffin, Hodgson, and Maxwell. This explains why she was targeted for exile together with Prempe I and other prominent chiefs in 1896. She died in Seychelles on 2nd September 1917 at the age of 77. I move on to the last heroine in terms of Asante history, that is Ya Asante. Ya Asante was a formidable-looking woman who had the slogan, "Men are not pillows for any woman to lean against." Ya Asante played a pivotal role in galvanizing the Asante into action by challenging male impotency in a time of national crisis. Echampo and Obey emphasized that her devotion to the golden stool, determination and courage contributed to making the war against the British. When her grandson, Nana Kwesi Afrani Dejesohene, was exiled, together with Prempeh I by the British, she openly challenged the demands made by Sir Frederick Hodgson for the golden stool. Her devotion for the golden stool and determination contributed to the siege and guerrilla war from April to November 1900. This contributed to her famous statement, "How can a proud and brave people like the Asante sit back and look whilst the white men took away the king and the chiefs and humiliated them with a demand for the golden stool? The golden stool only means money to the white man. They have searched and dug everywhere for it. I shall not pay one prejan to the governor. If you, the chiefs of Asante, are going to behave like cowards and not fight, you should exchange your loincloths for my undergarments." For the sake of time, I'll move on to my conclusion. Within the broader framework of gender and power relations in Asante, women are highly recognized for their roles played in the continuity of their lineages. Because of the matrilineal structure of the Asante people, which centers on the idea that a woman passes her blood to her offspring, this bestows on women recognized political rights. Several queen mothers did not limit their responsibilities to women and domestic affairs, but played crucial roles to enhance national sovereignty. These queen mothers defied gender stereotyping to shape Asante social and political institutions and prove the capability of women despite the religio-cultural ascribed biological limitations as compared to men. In conclusion, while women served limited roles in Asante army due to customary disqualifications and the fear of menstrual taboos, upon reaching menopause, they assumed war politics together with men. As we celebrate the 150 years since the Sagrenti War occurred, it is important that we remember heroines of history, including Efia Kobi, Ya Echa, and Ya Asantewa. I guess I will lastly play the devil's advocate here in probing the unsung stories of women. I wonder what the story would have been if these women had told their own stories. Had Ya Asantewa or Ya Echa been lettered or Western schooled, and had they similar avenues as Nana Ajman Prempeh I while in exile, what stories would they have written about women in war? This leaves much to be desired. And I'll end by saying that as women, he bestows on us to go ahead and
so much for lending us your mental agilities and fleshing out this book from various perspectives. Let's now go back to 1874, February. Like Dr. Baumia was saying, you and I were not there. But the gods, ancestors, and spirits live in all of us, and for the next few minutes, I want you to lend your very undivided attention to the Kumasi Cultural Center as they reenact February 1874.
The fellow Ura Emmanuel Jiwo Pipra Mesa. On the Jina, actually, whatever. I may first say, walk a
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ofi Obenkoja. And he was the state member for this production. And it is our hope that in the future, actually this performance is 2-hour performance. But for this occasion, we have abated it to 25 minutes. And this production is brought to you by the Cultural Center, as we said, and very possible. concerted effort of some individuals, including the regional director of the Hospital Contract Center, Mr. Peter Mufumafo, and Professor Tanajua from the International Contract Office.
The British and the Asante signed the Anglo-Asante Peace Treaty of 1831 at Cape Coast Castle. This treaty empowered the British to create the British protected territories on the lands across the River Trap. By 1872, the Danes and the Dutch had sold all their trading forts and castles to the British and left. These lands became protected from any Asante control or encroachment. The British protected territories of the southern states, including Asin, Wassa, Fante, Denfra, Akwamu, Ga, Adangbe, and many others supported the British, serving as their informants. As saw European power on the coast, the British fomented another war against the Asantes. And this is how it all began.
Yura, now say, yes, yeah, no, I did. Hey, Adaroma, so you do all my you. What you have got to tell now, Mania? You need not done it. You and my 18 sir.
My boy, my present. I'm not the last month. I was in there. And I go there. When you're around, see Sarah when I say.
Araba, we travel from Nessa. Now, what can you do? I can't. Come on,
Arote, I make a tell. Sabi, Samo, and I'm here. Yet, you have a good matter. I want to pass up. I didn't tell myself, I tell you.
Mura, Boto, we need that. I can see or I want the one. What's that? I want to be a go to be new man.
What? So we do Papa. We do who put it up with the money. I thought.
Eh, no. It moves out as a running. I can Papa be in it. Dabi, I am me coffee kakabi. I keep you on the baby and Messi among.
may want to discuss official matters with you.
All right, let them come in.
All right. Pass it on to you. My lord, the kings from the coastal areas.
Tell them they're welcome.
And I'm not all see Ozzy or Mark.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you so. Also, some kind
I'm not a catchy.
of
So, young good ton of money. What? Me are chimney. Me so I am Fantini, and one also danger. But one month, Ebu, a canano young to me in the kind of Yadoso. Yet, some titties are become. Ye hear the set. I'm another. Yahoo said, oh, I've been packed at the Maya and my own piano. Label, young beer. One more Asante train for Libby. And one would near them, Papa. I didn't want it. I'm not a woman. Yes, let her say, I'm the way I'm buying Kumadia. Said, yes, you have a carriage. Not yes, for the beer. But I will make another mass money.
I'm not a catcher. You have to another year to say. I asked him before. You had none of the I say. But who's my son? Pia, you better get a child. The other here. So we're home. It was just at the phone to be here. You know that just as soon as you don't know to it. And just say, oh, my body, it's slow. It's slow.
My lord, what they are saying is simple. That they want to be your informant. And also, they won't give you any secret, anything about the Asantes. In return, they seek for your protection.
Wonderful!
Asante War. Mira, where you are now, so I see a passage here, and can you say, will be actually for some papa, and you best have Madame.
You are seeking for permission today.
Please thank them for coming and get them some refreshments.
Yes, my lord. Also, hey, madam,
You are traveling.
It's a
Good time. If I therefore can carry, and I'm my power. Get us to do. The man to get for the career. Then I myself. And I'm a top. I'm a part. Anything. I must have it. It's unfair. In my head. Just try to take part and say. It was just the devil. I did that. What was that fair? Then in the million so. But I tell you, the career. And I'm a friend.
yeah. The same said Safa Saget Najasi on an possible.
Achani.
Asikadan mo nam. Ankoto nchire. Menso kana ni kwa na. yɛnyɛ sɛ dwase nana no sie wura bɛpena kame nkoa yɛ me se yɛnkɛ to atwa bɛ so yɛnkɛ to
bi na kia ne wɔ hɔ ntia wɔ wu mawu ɛbɔ akɔbia bɛne ma asɔre ɛbɛnyi sɛ sɛ aboa no wɔnyam no wɔnkawo a ɔmfie ne sɛ kyerɛ wo akwasi brodi wɔyɛ nani atena n'ani ntɔm ɔsɛ biribiara sɛ nananom asita bi a ɔdoma nkoma ɛde akyɛ yɛwura akyi ɛne asanteman ɛne nanani abere a ɔbɛsɔ deɛ enti metumi de ayɛ adwene sɛ yɛmmɔ toa yɛka toa
yɛwura kyɛ me hɔ adaroma ɔkɔkɔtɔkyi ɛna masɔle wobɛtie ama na wura sɛ akwasi broni anasa akwasi kɔkɔ na sikadware nti ɛna nea pere a ɔma yɛwura ɔnyɛ ahwene bɔ no yiwu no deɛ mema nkɔkɔntɔkyi ohia kumara na ɛnene sɛ ɔma mekɔyɛ kwasi broni sɛbisɛbi mpanyini se sɛ ɔbaa bi hu no na twetwe a wɔnsa pa hɔ mɛntena hɔ anyɛ no fɔfɔrɔtɔ ama akwasi kɔkɔ nso kɔkɔkɔkɔdu ama tuya wura pɛntɛ so ɔbɛ mekɔ yɛ makyerɛ ma sante sɛm akyɛ me too kɔ ama wo sɛ yɛyɛ asantefoɔ ɔfe so nie ɔkɔ awia wiafɛ nso me se kaka bɛka ne sɛ mewura wadaroma sɛ ɔbɛma me kwa a aka me bɛkyɛ buroni kɔkɔ atwa ne ti ɛne bɛkyera sɛbɛ ne waka wo tetetetetetetete yɛwura kyɛ me ɔdaama hyiema no nto yɛwura ɛne n'ahema sɛ adaama o sɛ nipɛne se apa tete a wɔ yɛnya abotɛ dwa na yɛmu ne so sɛdeɛ yɛaso asɛm yi ɛnkɔi adaama ɛnke yɛsi abotɛ sɛdeɛ apɛgya asɛm yi ɔwɛ da kuna adaama ɛnsi abotɛ kasi bɔnɔ ɔde n'asɛm bɛbi wura sɛbi ɛmu asɛm no pɔmɛ sɛ bɛ adaama tenase sɛ wodi bɛ ka tenase hufuo ɛna akyɛm adaama afoɔ bɛrima foɔ yɛ kɛse adaama ɛnto wura ɛnto n'ahema ama me mene na mɛmɔ di ka kasa yɛ ne nyinaa yɛ adwen kɔdibɔ hɔ ne ho bɔn sa ne ɔkwasɛ mu wokyira wɔyɛ nyinaa sikadwantra wɔyɛ yɛpene dɛ ɛmpene kyira sɛ ɔbɔ pa na ɔbɛdura ne ɔkwasɛ mu bɛma ne ho sɛ kɛɛ wɔ yi ehiri tɛ pɛyina saa ɔnme ɔkyɛne mira mayɛnkwa mfa afei so mankwa ayɛ dɛ ayɛnkwa anagya tɛm yɛfrɛ baafo so mankwa bɛɛ Afosmamba, ina mmea frɛ wo. Bantama amankwatia. Mmea ba kodia, ofiri amie. Monka afosmamba ho. Amomo abo ho. Na dia do no, akwasi kokɔ. Mmea nto asɛm ɛyɛ akoso. Ɛyɛ me ofi kakere. Beti punani, fun sɛ yɛbɛkye no yɛtwa ne ti.
distracted from one angle and they assemble one another. We have to end the regime by any means necessary.
There must be a connection, that's true.
But I thought after so many years of humiliation, they would learn a lesson. I will break the resistance, whether they like it or not.
Governor, the history of these people is full of battle.
See, I received this letter from Her Majesty, the Queen of England. And this is the present situation back in England.
Oh, the London Bridge is falling!
Indeed. I don't like the Asantes. The war must go on. General Wolseley, what are the preparations so far?
Governor, for this particular war, we're going with heavy armaments and supply rifles. For the first time, we're going to strongly defeat and destroy the Asante Empire. Because the Ashantis are powerful. They are 19 battles. We're training ourselves together. We're going to screen 12 the soldiers and introduce the new machine guns to give us a significant technological advantage over the Ashanti army.
Well done, General. Please follow me into the inner chamber.
It was Thursday, 7:30 a.m. as the British had already threatened the Asante Kingdom. Nana Amankweti III and some notable Asante chiefs were the Asante War in the thick at Afo. The British had indeed decided to fight the Asantes. After a full peace resolution led by the Asante Himara, the Asantes tried to resist the oppressor. Asante was the only kingdom that prevented the British from taking their lands. Then, out of the blue moon, Sir Garrett Wesley arrived in the Asante Empire with over 25,000 troops and thousands West Indian and African troops, including Fantes, including David. Asantes when the British arrived. Kumasi was demolished by the British with explosives. The harm has already been caused. And it's only time can wipe off members of this invasion. The British took away cherished treasures, including rolls of books, and as well as the headgear of Nana Kofi Kakeri, except the golden stool, Mr. Esikeja. The harm has already been caused. And it is only time that can wipe out this memory. How can we forget the death of our war general, Nana Mankwetia, and some notable chiefs in the hands of the British? How can we forget the death of thousands of people and the agonies of those left behind? How can we forget the parents that rained profusely on that faithful? How can we forget the treasures that were looted away? But things change with the passage of time. Now Kumasi holds several British citizens and London houses several Asante citizens. The city Ghana sought to destroy is now the repository of Ghana's culture, and hundreds of British nationals, quite ironically, talk in it every year to see the remnants of the very thing they seek to destroy or carried away. The British brought their cannon to the bush, but the bush was stronger than the cannon. Asante was born in battle, nurtured in battle, and sustained in battle. Today, as a proud kingdom, we learn from our defeats and also celebrate our victories. And this is what will forever make the Asante kingdom powerful and mightier. Long live the king of the Asantes, His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu. Long live the kingdom of Asante.
Naturally, this should exude an ovation. I don't have to ask for it. The Kumasi Cultural Center. Let's appreciate We are brilliant in reenacting this great war, this Sagrenti War. And now, remaining standing, Your Lordship the Chair, Your Royal Majesty, humbly I ask that together let us pay tribute to all our men and women who lost their lives in this great war. For they are a part of an unbroken line of heroes who have borne the heaviest burden of the freedoms we enjoy today. A minute's silence. It's our prayer that the blood, sweat, tears, and toil of our heroes past shall never be in vain. We ask that their souls rest in glory. Amen. A sounding round of applause to celebrate. Depicting the war, and it's on display at the battleground at Amafo. We ask that you all make your way there at your convenience, together with your families, as we relive this experience. A round of applause for them too. To launch this book is a man who is in the battle of his life, as significant as the Sagrenti War. His is to bequeath for this generation and generations yet unborn an education and an educational system that is functional and fit for purpose. Asante, we know he will win. I give to you the MP for Bosumji, a proud native of Jache and Ghana's Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Hossein.
His Royal Majesty, the 24 Osei II, Chairman of this occasion, immediate past Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Chairman of the Planning Committee, Nana Ocho Sribo II, Nanano Amaikne, Nanano Vice Chancellor of the University, Kane University, Regional Minister, Mayor of Kumasi, Members of Parliament, my colleague, Minister, Energy Minister, Dr. Martin Kukwemi. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed an honor to have been asked to launch this book. Your Royal Majesty, the last time I had a one-on-one meeting with you, I went home and told my mom that I met the king of Asante. Then she started jubilating. Yay, me back, I see how to for. So if my mom was alive today, I think if she was to see me on TV, you say, hey, and then the 2 for book
So you have said, today my son is launching a book written by 2-4 Sagrenti War. Very great day. For me, the MC mentioned and fight another Sagrenti War to bring about education transformation in our nation. Maybe not exactly Sagrenti War, but what we seek to do is to ensure that we transform the education system of this nation, to ensure we transform the socio-economic institutions of our nation. This is a very fat book, even for education minister to read. So I went through some pages, and very exciting. In fact, once you start reading, you can't stop. It's filling in the gaps for us, even for those of us who have studied history. All the things that you thought you knew, you're going to find the gaps filled for you. The book is a concise autobiography of the author, 2-4 Sagrenti War, the 14th Asante, overseeing an industrial research committee of 9, which included the likes of Berima Kojo Owusu-Ansah, C.E. Osei, J.W.K. Appiah, I.K. Ajimai, Ohinba Boakye Dankwa, Achimpemi, Edward Owen, George Asafu Ejei, and Chiame Bafo Akoto. The work started in 1939. Unless Atan Yatrematin, another local intellectual, was later added to the research team to prepare the script between 1944 and 1946. To take a little more than half a century, the hard work and dedication of notable historians like Professor Adubuai, Professor Emmanuel Champo, and Professor Makiski, coupled with the added support of Otumfuo Boakai II and Otumfuo Setu II, to discover and compile the original writings and typescripts for finally producing the history of Asante. 2-4 Sagrenti War gives an account of the events preceding his birth, when a leopard appeared in Kumasi 3 days before he was born. This earned him the name Kwame Tutu. His other names were Osei Kwame, Osei Tutu, Owusu, as he was known after his baptism into the Wesleyan Methodist Church in 1911. He was called Edward Prempe Owusu. This publication of the history of Asante transcends this famous Asante saying, "The truth is now known to us all." And the first most educated Asantini, he placed much emphasis on education as the bedrock to national development and advancement. As a young adolescent, Osei Kwame came to realize that literacy and numeracy furnished by the Western education were indispensable keys to survival and future prosperity. This was before the Sustainable Development Goals Declaration by the United Nations. He was a founding member of the ACOS, the Asante Protocol Union Society, whose objects were about moral, civic, and economic improvement within an Asante nationalist framework. 2-4 gives an account of Asante origins and connections with the biblical 12 tribes of Jacob and their subsequent migration through the Middle East to the present habitation in Asante. Readers are also given extensive details of the reigns of the previous 13 Asante kings, from 2-4 Setu I to 2-4 Sagrenti I, and he concludes with a brief note of his reign and the restoration of the Asante Confederacy on 31st January 1935, when he proclaimed to Asante man that unity is strength. There have been many writings about Asante history, but the history of Asante, Otumfuo Osei Agyemang II, is the most comprehensive and definitive history of the Asante kings, the people of Asante mind in their dealings with their neighbors in pre-colonial Gold Coast and European colonialists. Students of literature, history, and the arts will find in the history of Asante a wealth of material to enrich their knowledge. It will also stimulate research to enrich this volume. This is a must read for all and sundry, and should find its way into every house, library, educational institutions, and bookstores. Tumfor said Admiral Prempeh II, consider this publication his greatest wish, and is now displayed before us. To get hold, all of us should endeavor to get hold of a copy of this book. See, as I was reading and going through pages, by sheer act of serendipity, I opened page 81. And here it was. Story. The story reads, talks about Edua Wabin. He was a member of the Asante family, and he went to report to Akoseyalo Amekomini that he was of the same family as he was, and that he had removed himself from his original town to settle at Odahu. Akoseyalo accepted him warmly as a relative and lived happily with him. Eduyabua Krentri used to visit Odahu and then returned happily to Amekom. He was a medical man and possessed many efficacious medicines. He was referred to as Edua Wabin, who lived at Odahu. This was the reason that there is now a town called Eduabin. My grandparents are from Eduabin, and from there, they moved to Jackson. So today, as I was reading the book, I come to know more about why the town is called Eduabin. The pages of this review may also read something about your family, about your inheritance, about hope, about aspirations, about loyalty and commitment to a cause bigger than yourself, about patriotism, individuals who are willing to even pay the ultimate price so that their kingdom will survive. This is a book which is a must read, teaches us many lessons as to how you even die for your kingdom, as to how you dedicate yourself to making your kingdom better than you came to find it. There are men and women who have done so many things. I saw stories of commitment, stories of promises made and promises kept, to the extent that a woman who asked that when she passes on, her name should be remembered after she had given up her son. Otumfor then made a commitment to her, and consequently, Otumfor and the subsequent Otumfors named their children after this woman. Promises made, promises kept. Here is the story of a kingdom that has stood the test of time, kingdom that has contributed